Oh, there we go. We got an error on one of them, but that's okay. Let's keep going. That Facebook group looks weird anyway. I don't know what's going on there. An error occurred. Oh, there it goes. Huh. All right, well, we're good. A couple technical difficulties getting started there, but here we go. It is Monday morning, the last day of January, and it is time for Building the Broncos. Scott, or Broncos for breakfast. Goodness, my coffee's still kicking in. Scott, how are you doing? We're going to be building some Broncos here at the Senior Bowl coming up.
I'm doing good, and I couldn't remember who it was, but I knew when I saw the name come up in the chat this morning that they were going to be singing from the rooftops about the Bengals and the lack of respect that they were getting. And it was Falling Sloth. Falling Sloth said last week it's going to be real funny when the Bengals are in the Super Bowl, and I can get to say I told you so because everybody was sleeping on them. Falling Sloth, I'm going to do you a favor because I've picked against them. I think I didn't really pick against them against the Titans. I wasn't sold on the Titans, but I definitely picked against them the next two games. I'll do you a favor. I'll pick against them in the Super Bowl too. I don't want to break that streak. Just keep it going. I'll go 0-4 for the Bengals just for you.
Yep, absolutely. That would be Bengals have been fun, man. Joe Burrow's got some magic going, and we're going to get into the games here. Mile High Truth is in the house, and he hates Mondays, so hopefully these Mondays with the shows here help a little bit. Luke Wright's in the house, too. What's up, Nick and Scott? It feels like Victory Monday. Thank you very much, Joe Burrow. Go Broncos. DWI guys, Ethan in the house. Morning, Jensen, Broncos Country. Mark Lindemode, howdy, Broncos peeps. Good to see ya. Sean Burns, good morning, all. EJ's in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos Country. We also got Sunny Days in the house. Fallen Sloth. Yep, we already said hello. Good morning to you, Fallen Sloth. Great to see you. And Jeremy's in the house. Chief staying Mahome. I like it. Happy Monday. Chase is in the house. Chase, it's been a second. Hope you're doing well. The Red Menace has been stopped. Go Bengals. CC in the house too. Morning Broncos Country. Hope you all doing great. Dave, always a big supporter with the hearts, saying 50 hashtag 58 hashtag 40 hashtag Go Rams. I don't really. Do you have okay? So off the cuff here, I'm not asking who you're winning, but do you have a rooting interest in the Super Bowl, Bengals versus Rams?
I don't. I want to root for Sean McVay, but I want to root for the Bengals too. So we'll see. I can't really choose one right now. I'll probably end up rooting for the team that falls behind, just so we have a good game.
Yeah.
But I don't. I like both of these teams. I like Cincinnati better than LA.
Yeah.
As far as, again, the rooting interest of an underdog, where, Cincinnati, blue collar town on the river, middle America, where, it's the glitzy LA Rams. But I do like this Rams team. I'm a big fan of Sean McVay. Drove right by his high school yesterday. And this is the matchup. I didn't want to see the 49ers and the Bengals. The 49ers were effective and they were winning, but they just muck up a game so bad. They ugly it up enough that they can keep it close and win it. And they're very good at that, but it doesn't make for overly entertaining 60 minutes of football.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo did what Jimmy Garoppolo does and threw some boneheaded plays. And there's a reason that Jimmy Garoppolo, fine quarterback, but there's a reason the 49ers gave up all those picks to go up and get a quarterback. We'll get into it here. Travis in the house. Travis, thanks again for the hat. Appreciate you. Morning, fellas. I was sick all last week, so I missed most of the shows. Feeling a lot better. Well, that's good to hear. If you are sick and you missed the shows, though, you can always find it on iTunes after the fact if you need to kill an hour and hang out with us. Definitely excited to have the zone running scheme back in Denver. Denver Broncos for life. Well, Travis, you're definitely, I guess you should be excited about that, the zone run scheme. I would say it is the outside zone that's going to be the biggest change here for Denver. You did see some of it in Denver under Munchak and Shermer, but you're going to see a lot more of it here. You will see more duo, or you will still see duo and inside zone, key tenets of what Shermer like to run. I am curious to see. I don't know if you did see my running back piece. I am curious to see how Javonte Williams fits in the outside zone scheme, because some of his, we'll call them deficiencies, that I saw on tape at North Carolina and last year at Denver don't lend itself to be the best fits for an outside zone heavy scheme. But we did see that the Packers succeeded with A.J. Dillon, who's also a little bit, I wouldn't say a plotter, but more of a north-south kind of guy, and with the inside zone and the duo there. So maybe the Broncos need to bring back a Melvin Gordon or somebody else to run some of the more of those outside zone looks. Javonte Williams can improve there, but it will be interesting to see how he fits, because it's not the easiest transition in my opinion.
Yeah, and Mark coming in saying my Packer wife was wearing my Broncos gear this morning. So does that mean she kicked you out of it and you had to sleep on the couch? I know that was on the table going into the weekend. So that's what Aaron Rodgers. So that's what the Aaron Rodgers one. So it's still on the table. It's still on the table there for sure. Worm for mayor feels like a new name to me because I remember the Worm. So the Worm for me is two people. Worm is obviously Dennis Rodman, and then Worm from Coach Carter. So good characters for sure. Welcome, Worm.
Welcome in, Worm. Good to see you. We got Clint Ashworth in the house, too. Good morning, fellas. Congratulations, Devon, for another Super Bowl appearance. Congratulations to Coach Hackett, and welcome to Broncos country. Roy Osborne in the house. Morning, Nick and Scott. Might be an exciting Super Bowl. I hope so. We've been
Why
spoiled
stop
with,
now?
Yeah, gosh, right?
I mean, out of all the games, there's only been 2 or 3 that haven't been all that entertaining.
Yeah, the first round.
Like I said, I mentioned the 49ers playing kind of muck ball, but the games have been entertaining at the end. That's why I preface that by saying 60 minutes. The 60 minutes might not be as good, but they've come down to the wire. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Jamal in the house. Hello, Broncos fam. Loved, cool, calm Joe Burrow eliminating the Chiefs. Absolutely, it was a lot of fun to see the Chiefs go down. Falling sloth, but we can seriously learn a lot more than just get a QB. Things like develop your coaches if they are showing growth. Part of the D vets to get younger. Use full weapons to help the line, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, no, definitely. It's there's some takeaways from this game, and I want to get into it from I think there's takeaways for both games that we can lean in on the Broncos. But the big one for me, and not to just toot my own horn here, but bodies in coverage against the Chiefs. I've been preaching it since you've probably been on here, Scott. But I think that blitzing Patrick Mahomes and allocating less bodies to the secondary or the second and third level of the defense is a death sentence. And what a night and day difference from the Bengals from the first half to the second half. Shout out to them. Everybody giving Joe Burrow credit, rightfully so. But what that Bengals defense did after giving up, well, it was almost 4 touchdown drives in a row in the first half. They did get that amazing stop at the tackling Tyreek Hill inbounds. What a dumb bleep play that was. But the second half, the Bengals came out and did something that we have not seen much of in the NFL this season. It's not a very common style of defense and not something that you see often. The Bengals dropped 8 men into coverage pretty consistently in the second half. In the game overall, they ran 8 players in coverage 35% of the time. The average in the NFL is between 5 to 12%. And in the second half, they ran 8 in coverage 45% of the time. They were doing it with robbers to keep eyes on Mahomes, which I thought was brilliant. And they were changing who the robbers were. So Patrick Mahomes had to identify who it was. Is it Von Bell coming down? Is it one of the defensive ends? The interception by BJ Hill was because of a Trey Hendrickson dropping back and playing a robber role while only rushing 3. If people in here yelling at me, why doesn't Vic Fangio blitz more? Why don't the Broncos blitz more? Because if you blitz against these guys, they will kill you. So you need to be able to get pressure, not only with 4, but with 3 in this game and confuse Mahomes while still playing man coverage with those robbers. So I thought it was a brilliant game plan from the Bengals in the second half. And some stats here. Mahomes was against 8 man in coverage in that game. Mahomes went 7 for 13 for 59 yards, 2 sacks, and an interception, and had his second worst EPA per play of any second half of his entire career. Hats off to the Bengals. What a great defensive game plan. Taking some stuff there, implementing it differently than we've seen this year, taking away a lot of those easy crossing routes with those robbers, confusing Mahomes, and not getting suckered into we have to blitz to get him out of his comfort zone because he will kill you.
You should be able to run against that.
They did not though, because they are it's the same thing we said
should
about
be able to. How do you be if you're gonna put 3 on the line and drop 8 into coverage? I should be able to run on you.
They
especially with an 18-point lead.
Yeah,
especially with a 21-3 lead. But no, I like the idea of dropping a parachute around Mahomes because every time you see pressure come in, the kid's Houdini, and then he just scrambles for 15 yards.
Yep.
Peter coming in said, "Oh, that was a fun weekend. It's going to be a fun Super Bowl to watch." Yeah, it is. And again, I'm glad it's not the 49ers. And that would have been really weird being it's like, hey, we've been to the Super Bowl 3 times at fairly different intervals, and we played the 49ers every time. Difference is the Bengals are bringing their own Joe Cool this time. They're bringing their own Joe Cool to the Super Bowl and not having to face one of the greatest until Tom Brady at Tampa Bay, I think I was still a Joe Montana truther, just as far as the greatest ever. There was a feeling of inevitability in '89 after that '88 season. It's like, yeah, the Bengals are ahead, doesn't matter. It was like watching Jordan. It doesn't matter. Joe Montana is going to beat these guys. He beats everybody. This would have been different. But I think this will be a much more fun Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to it. And Jeremy Sean saying, so much for whining about the overtime rules. Just because you got a more fair outcome doesn't mean the overtime rules don't suck. They still suck. And again, you never once heard me say Buffalo lost this game because of the overtime rules. No. Buffalo lost that game because they gave up 40 yards in 13 seconds. Overtime rules still suck.
Yeah.
Everybody should get a chance. You should get a chance. Not just flip a coin. If they score, if you score a touchdown, I get a chance to score a touchdown. If I don't score a touchdown, game over. If I score a touchdown, I kick it off to you. You get a chance. And then guess what? Then I get a chance. That's how competition works. The overtime rules suck.
Yeah, and honestly, this is going to be an un-American. This is an off-season kind of take, I know, but I don't mind the ties in the regular season because if you played 60 minutes and got all the way to that result, then I think maybe you should have something in your column to show that result rather than if you got beat 45-0, the loss would count the same. But in the playoffs, I think you should have the sudden death clock just doesn't go anymore, and every team's guaranteed one possession, and everybody has to go for two kind of situation as well. And just let it go, let it play. But that's only for the playoffs, keeping no overtime in the regular season. So that's what I would do if I was king of the world for football. But we'll see here. Travis Tarbox coming in here. Thank you so much, Travis. Now that we have our head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, here in Denver, what coordinators do you believe Hackett will hire? Offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. There is the secondary coach from the Rams, whose name is escaping me right now, that has been linked with the Broncos pretty heavily. There's the defensive line coach for the Ravens. I think the Broncos are questioning an interview with him as well. But we'll see. The Rams guy is also best friends with Nathaniel Hackett, so that's a big. Not only is that a big connection for them, but also he is qualified. He's coached underneath a lot of different guys. He's not he'd be a first-time defensive coordinator, but he has plenty of experience with a bunch of different schemes, coordinators, et cetera, where it seems like it's his time. The accolades and experiences line up to be his time. So we'll see. Offensive coordinator, I've heard that I want to say the name is Luke Otson, the tight end coach for the Packers, is the guy that might be coming in. They were interested in Luke Getsy. They were interested in the run game coordinator, who's now the Packers offensive coordinator. Couldn't bring in either of those guys. So it will be interesting. I mean, like if you guys heard me on Saturday night, coaching staffs across the NFL are kind of changing because everybody's becoming what is essentially mini offensive coordinators, where they're all working and learning the system, and everybody has some sort of play calling responsibility in a sense where there's certain packages or scenarios where these guys are in charge of the plays. So you bring in Nathaniel Hackett. He's been an offensive coordinator before, but what he did in Green Bay was the gold zone, the red zone, essentially 25-yard on in, I believe. And he's going to bring that in, but he's going to have to implement more. But he'll have other coaches doing other situations, 2-minute drills, run game. I've heard the Broncos are also going to bring in a run game coordinator and a pass game coordinator, something you see at the college level in some of these NFL teams, but you haven't seen it from Denver. So there's going to be changes here. Who will these guys be? Don't know, but the system itself, it sounds like it is evolving and modernizing for the coaching staff.
So overtime rules for Jesse coming in saying overtime rules, give the ball to each team on the 35, only touchdowns allowed. Keep going till one team scores and the other doesn't. That's similar to college. I don't necessarily like the college method either. Again, someone, US Dave coming here saying you're showing your soccer following, Scott. What's next? Field goal shootout. Hey, shootouts are a crappy way to end a game too. That's not necessarily soccer any more than giving the guy the ball. And the 35 is better than the 20 or 25 like they did in college, but you're automatically in scoring position. It's akin to baseball where there are rules, and they did this in the MLB in the shortened season where you start with a guy on second base. You're like, well, he didn't earn his way there. That's not baseball. You got to earn your way to second base. So again, I'd be okay with how they start it. Start the clock, kick off, they score, let the other team kick off. They get a chance. You get your fair ups. It's more like regular extra innings in baseball. Again, I don't care who the teams are, or that KC couldn't move the ball. They might have been better off kicking off in this case. Each team should get the same opportunity. They really should.
And
Offense, defense, it's two separate teams. It's not like basketball where it's 5-on-5 up and down the court. Each team should get the same opportunity. That's competition. That's fair.
Yeah, Jeremy. And I agree with you. And he says defense has to play a part in football, in my opinion. Yeah, and I agreed, yes. But you know whose defense played no part in the overtime last week? The Chiefs defense. They didn't have to take the field. So I agree with you. Defense should have to take the field. Should have to play a part in football on both sides. Both defenses should have to play a part. We got Big E Bronco coming in saying, "What's up, everybody? What's up to you?" We got Jesse Farley coming in saying, "Overtime rules. Give the ball to each team on the 35. Only touchdowns allowed. Keep going until one team scores and the other doesn't." I think 35 is a little bit too close.
Wait,
but
am I watching the other feed? We just said that.
Did we get to that one? I don't remember the 35. Okay. I saw the
every once in a while I'll launch the other feed that has a delay. I'm like, wait a minute. Did my sound just come on my other monitor? What just happened here? So confused.
I have CC in here too, talking about the 8-minute coverage, saying even with the Bengals dropping 8, I felt like the checkdowns were open for Mahomes in the second half, but it seemed like he went back to the mentality of looking downfield for the big gain. And this is the big thing with the Chiefs is that Mahomes is a hunter. He's an aggressive player by nature. And Vic Fangio, one of the big reasons that Patrick Mahomes had the 2 worst grades of the entire season against the Broncos, which is crazy to say given how good he is for Pro Football Focus grades and I think EPA per play, is because the Broncos made him say death by 1,000 paper cuts. Now, the Broncos defense, I think in both games they played the Chiefs, they had a good enough performance on defense to win that game. Not good enough from the offense from multiple levels, but I think the defense, they had something there. So hopefully they can get the offense right. Maybe they can pick up some more of the defense as well. I'm a little bit nervous about I would say, guaranteed. I don't want to say guaranteed, but guaranteed regression from the defense last year to last season to next season, because you are losing arguably the best defensive coordinator mind in football. There's going to be some regression, but you have Vic Fangio has to be the head coach of the whole team. The whole team wasn't good enough, but we'll see.
And Nick, the key to any of these is being flexible. You know, it seemed like it worked against the Chiefs because the Chiefs are greedy and they're talented and they want to be high octane. You know, the most exciting show on turf or whatever they called the Rams back in the day. But against the teams that aren't that good, they love the fact that they'll give you 5 and 6 yards at a time, and they'll take 8 or 9 minutes to drive down the field and score. And you'll only get the ball 3 times in the first half. So you've got to be more flexible. And the Broncos were, I don't think anybody has ever used the term like flexible or adjustable or anything like that and Vic Fangio in the same sentence, unless to say he wasn't any of these things. So, you know, putting a blanket, a parachute around Mahomes works, but you gotta be able to make adjustments on defense and be more aggressive when the time comes. But you send 5 guys after Mahomes and he breaks containment. Now you've got 2 less guys to tackle him once he's free, and 2 less guys in coverage trying to cover an extra 3-4 seconds. So you should have been able to adjust, especially with a 21-3 lead. You should have been able to adjust and run the game on that one, but that's neither here nor there. Good morning, Michael from Tucson, Arizona.
Good morning to you, Michael. Yeah, the Chiefs getting away from the run game when it was effective, especially with the 3-man rushes going on and the dropping spies and robbers, probably would have been the way to go. But they're the Chiefs. They are going to throw the football. So I don't know. They even invested really well in an offensive line that can run block, but alas, they didn't do it. So who knows? Crazy game. Chiefs kind of shot themselves in the foot. Andy Reid, for as good of a schemer he is, sometimes the game flow stuff can be a little bit perplexing, but I mean, hats off to the Bengals, man. They made some plays. Jamar Chase was incredible. Got to get into some more takeaways from this game, but we got Steve F. Armstrong coming in first saying, I'm excited to see what the future holds for our Broncos. Hashtag State of Being. Hashtag Denver Broncos for life. Hashtag the Mile Highlander. I like that one.
So was this a different name? Because I feel like the Steve Armstrong is a newer name to us. So welcome, but you may have been, you may have had a different name coming in before. So I think everybody's excited, and I want to temper that. There's a comment that came in just after yours that I want to highlight afterwards, because it is exciting. You can tell the coaching staff's excited. You can tell the players are excited. You can tell the ex-players are excited. Melvin Gordon's like, I want to come back to play for the Denver Broncos and this team. Are you kidding? Says me and 33 will kill it. Nick has a good article on that on Mile High Huddle if you haven't seen it. Melvin Gordon basically calling out and saying, I'd like some. And then changing topics here a little bit back to Melvin Gordon, but I think Melvin Gordon would be a good at half that price. Instead of 8, if he wants to take 3 or 4, I'd bring him back. The other part on this is, I'm just going to hit the top of it because is Jerry, because this feels like a new name too. Jeremy will sit in here. Says, be careful with the energy hype, folks. It's because everyone in Broncos country was desperate for change. Yes, it is. And it's refreshing. It really is. And he mentioned so much is, it's fun when you win games. You can have this energy. Otherwise, that shtick, the hype, all the positiveness wears real thin, real fast, just like the grouchy grumpiness. So winning will cure all. But however, I am of the opinion that the fastest route to winning again, not necessarily Super Bowl, but to get out from the 7-10 doldrums and 6 straight times missing the playoffs and multiple consecutive losing seasons is an infusion of energy and positivity to get these teams excited, get these players excited about playing the game again, because there is talent here. And I think I said as early as week 4 or 5, this team is done. We could roll it back, and I said this team has quit playing for Vic Fangio. They'll be playing again. They'll be excited again, and that is something we can all look forward to.
Yep, absolutely. Talking about these teams too, I'll let you kind of look at the chat here, but something else that I had was a big takeaway from these games this weekend to me is something that we've been preaching on these shows for better part of 2 years now, I would say. It's that you need to chase greatness at the quarterback position, and that if you do not know that you have a dude, you should be looking to add talent and physical ability at the quarterback position, arm talent, because arm talent changes what types of throws you can do and changes how defenses can play you. The Kansas City Chiefs, they had a perfectly fine quarterback who was beloved in the locker room by the coaching staff, et cetera, and Alex Smith. And they go out there and get Patrick Mahomes. No dip. What a great move. A lot of people chastising the Los Angeles Rams, giving up that much capital for known loser Matt Stafford. Oh, he never even won a playoff game in Detroit.
It's Detroit.
Yeah, I know. But just again, rehashing some of these terrible narratives. They had a quarterback who went to a Super Bowl who already had a lot of dead cap in Jared Goff. Even if let's say Jared Goff was a C quarterback and Matt Stafford is a B plus, that's a huge difference in the impact of a game. Such a massive difference. Matt Stafford, now they're going to the Super Bowl, chasing greatness at the quarterback position. Jimmy Garoppolo almost went to 2 Super Bowls, led him on the brink of going to another Super Bowl underneath Kyle Shanahan. The 49ers trade up for Division II quarterback, North Dakota State, 20-year-old, only played 1 season, Trey Lance, giving up 3 first-round picks, chasing greatness at the quarterback position. If you do not have a guy, if you do not know that you have an incredible player at the quarterback position, you should be looking to upgrade. I don't give a bleep if you spent a second-round pick 2 years ago on a guy. If he hasn't shown to be incredible yet, you got to keep chasing greatness at the position. And that's what these teams show.
Let him compete as a backup.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So you owe it to these guys. No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. They owe it to you. That's why you're paying them. They owe it to you. And Addison coming in and saying, Nick is 100% the best host on MMH. Scott's okay too. I don't host. I'm more of just someone else to bounce so that they're not up here monologuing. That's all I'm here for.
Also, we're MHH. So this could be I'm the only one over on MMH. So I don't know.
Oh, whatever. I knew what he meant.
Yeah, no, me too.
Thank you.
I'm trying to spin this so I'm not taking any compliments because I can't do that. It's illegal.
Travis says, so glad the Chiefs lost. No doubt I despise them. So sick of them winning. Yeah, they got theirs. It's if we're gonna have forced parity, let's have somebody else do it. So I actually thought this was a question I had, and maybe it's the longevity factor, because my thoughts on this were if the Rams win, at least we'll have it's good because we'll have a first-time Super Bowl winner, no matter what. Now, the Rams have won a Super Bowl before, but not the LA Rams. So how long does it take for you to really associate the franchise with the city as a separate franchise? Because the Raiders, to me, they've moved around so much that they're just the nomad Raiders. They're the Raiders, whether they're in Oakland, LA, San Diego, Vegas, whatever. They're the Raiders. But I completely wrote off, anything that the Arizona Cardinals had done in St. Louis. It's different now. And from personal experience, I don't claim anything as a Braves fan that they did before they got to Atlanta. Now they've been here 50 years, but it's, for me, the Braves have 2 championships, 95 and 2021. So just real quick, won't go on this for too long, but would you consider this a first time win for the LA Rams if they won it, or you're like, no, the Rams already won a Super Bowl?
I would say the Rams already won a Super Bowl because it is the same ownership, but also I have
Mark Shot, Cincinnati. Is it the same ownership?
It's Stan Kroenke. I believe it was the same ownership group here. I could be wrong there. Also for the Rams Super Bowl over was it the Panthers? Is that who they beat? No, it was the Titans. It was an incredible game against Steve McNair. That one's a little bit personal for me because Kurt Warner grew up around me, and I met Kurt Warner a couple times as a kid. I have a football that I got as a child says, "God bless you, Nick," from Kurt Warner, hanging up in my childhood bedroom because, I played soccer against all his nieces and nephews growing up. So I was a Bronco fan first, but I was really pulling for the Rams during that era because knowing Kurt Warner was incredible. And also, I'm a big St. Louis Cardinals fan. Rams right across the way. But they're the Los Angeles Rams to me now. They spurned that city. A lot of really hurt people there with that situation. So I'm not a big Rams fan. I like a lot of the players, but that ownership. Also, Stan Kroenke is a terrible owner. You probably know that from. I think he does.
Ask Arsenal fans what they think of Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Nugget fans also it's just bad. So I'm not pulling for the Rams in this game. I'm definitely pulling for the Bengals. I'm pulling for Von Miller to do great, but I just don't like Stan Kroenke. I don't like that they left St. Louis.
That Rams-Titans game was actually in Atlanta, and it hit, like I've said, it's not the little bit of snow that can get you here in Atlanta. It's the ice. And there was a wicked ice storm that week and just about shut everything down here in the city. And then they ended up having one of the best Super Bowls of all time. And they were saying, so we'll never go back to Atlanta again. They just can't handle the January stuff. So it's not the snow here. It's the ice. We're not ready for it. I actually saw a video of a car sliding sideways off the road. I don't care how good a driver you are, for God's sake. When your car's moving laterally, you're in trouble.
Yeah. And I want to get to Antonio here because I don't even know where the sentence is going, but I'm here for the ride. Cincinnati has some beautiful women that fill in the blank, but let's go Cincinnati.
Well, see, if you read it in an English accent, that's how they finish sentences. So, like, great play, that. That's it. Okay. Not that was a great play. It's almost like Yoda speaks, like, great play, that. So maybe that's more like a period.
Well, there we go. We'll take it. I want to make sure that we're not missing any super chats here. We got Mark Schrader. Mark has come in pretty recently for us, but he has been cashing in for us with the huge super chats, with the big star donations over on Facebook. Thank you so much, Mark. Looking spiffy there. Good morning from Texas, guys. Hope you're doing well down there in Texas. It's a cool, I want to say 38 degrees here in Seattle this morning. Sun's not up yet. Had another good weekend, though. I climbed Mount Si with the dog on Saturday morning. 8 miles, 3,500 feet of elevation. A little bit out of shape from the hiking season this summer, but getting back into it.
Yeah, make sure you tune in tonight on the Huddle Up Pod, and you'll see a final tally for Facebook and YouTube. And Mark's top 10 on Facebook. And come on real strong. Anthony Edwards said, I'm liking the Von trade more and more. He's still there in the run, but seems like his elite pass rushing is behind him. Nick, you've watched Von a whole lot more than I have. So, what do you think? Do you see flashes of Von Miller at his best, or do you see a different Von Miller?
Von Miller's still great, but I think that the cover 3, cover 1 heavy scheme with 7 bodies allocated to stopping the run with a specific gap fits Von Miller better than the era of football that we're approaching with a lot of people, where it is the 3-man pressures, the 4-man pressures, 2 gapping, gap and a half, making sure that you can crunch the pocket with your pass rush versus attacking the pocket with your pass rush. And we saw the Bengals do that in the second half. They were crunchers, really keeping Mahomes contained more with those spies and whatnot, and being very disciplined with that. Not that Von Miller can't do that. It's just Von Miller is best when he can pin his ears back to a single gap and go. Von can still be great. He's going to be very careful. Anthony's saying Von maybe has lost a step with the elite pass rushing before he goes against what might be the worst offensive line ever to play in the Super Bowl. So offensive line overrated? ? That hurts me to say, but we can get so many takeaways to get to these games. But I think Von is I'd be skeptical to say Von's best pass rushing days are behind him, they are, but before they go against the Bengals and the Rams, that would be a big one. I'd hold my tongue until that game.
Well, like I've said before, I like teams that are strong in the lines of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get away with one or the other being okay. You know, the Bengals defensive line right now is playing at an elite level. That covers up for a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
So their offensive line not be great, but their defensive line is. When you're weak on both sides, you're not making it this far. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
The 49ers offense is horrible. I'm like, until they got that second time, I'm like, how does a team score 2 touchdowns in the playoffs and make the Super Bowl? I guess defense isn't dead, but they didn't quite have enough. Appreciate the comment, Anthony. And Chris Hernandez coming in with some big stars and a big coffee cup. Cheers to you, Chris. Appreciate you being here. And Diamond, good morning, Diamond, saying boom. Yeah, that one goes a long way. I think most of Broncos country was happy over the weekend for lots and lots of reasons, for sure.
Yep, we got Malcolm Brown in the house. Hello from Homer, Alaska. Hope you're doing well. Addison coming back in here with another super saying, do you think Ritter would make it to the 3rd round? I'd be shocked if Desmond Ritter made it to the 3rd round. I think you're going to have 6 quarterbacks go in the first 2 rounds. Most of them should go round 2, but not how it's going to work. And Addison comes back in saying Ritter's most likely to be a star. Ritter's all over the place. I really like his processing. He's a little bit erratic with his touch. And something that bothers me as well is his arm velocity. Sometimes I think like not the ball itself, but how quickly he goes from the windup to the ball leaving his hand. I think that was something that was an issue in that Alabama game where they batted 4 balls down at the line of scrimmage. They were able to trigger on his reads early because that throw was a little bit elongated. But Scott's going to be down in Senior Bowl, going to be down at Mobile, and he's going to see 5 of the top 6 guys in this class. So we're going to have a much better idea. Ritter, though, a lot of experience, very smart guy, athleticism, good arm talent, solid frame. I wish he was a little bit thicker, but he's got a lot to work with. I really like this floor. Reminds me a little bit of Carson Wentz, which maybe would shudder for some people, but in the 2nd round, if you can take a chance on Carson Wentz's ceiling, that's a solid pick for a quarterback. So I like Ritter. I think he's a fine quarterback.
I play around on the PFN mock draft simulator a lot, while I'm waiting for the guys to show up, or I'm sitting here in the chat waiting. I'll just run through a quick mock. There's a couple things I notice on that. One, trading down is incredibly addictive. It's like, wait, when you're a team that has, needs a ton of players, getting 4 picks for a 1 and getting, oh yeah, I'll take your 2nd round pick next year. And then there's several guys based on their rankings that I think are undervalued. So we'll see if general managers undervalue them too, and you can get some steals. Desmond Ritter is one of those guys. James Cook, running back, I pick him up in the 4th round every time out of University of Georgia. And John Mechie Jr., the wide receiver out of Alabama, he's a 3rd or 4th round guy. Those are a couple of the guys, and Ritter's one of those. I'm like, 3rd round, yes, please. So yeah, if he's still there, I don't care who you've got at quarterback. Be happy that your team took him. And if you're the Broncos, you're thrilled if he's still there in the 3rd round. In fact, he might be a trade up candidate if he makes it to past 60. So in that neighborhood.
And I think that as much as you don't want it to be ideal, Broncos fans should understand, especially, obviously the last 6 years have been rough, but I'm pretty much in the camp that if the Broncos don't have Brock Osweiler in that 2015 season, there's no hardware one at the end of the season because you went 4-1 with him. And because of that, you got the 1 seed. You didn't have to go to Foxborough. We know how close that game was down the stretch. And you go on and win the Super Bowl. So you want a backup quarterback with how quarterbacks are being used more in the run game, taking hits these days. And the extra game we have now, also in the regular season, you probably are going to rely on your backup quarterback at some point in the regular season. It's probably just going to happen. This year, over 50, I think it was 54 quarterbacks had registered over 100 snaps, that's a lot. 50 quarterbacks with 100 snaps, it's multiple games. So you want to invest in that position. It's not just the starter. You want to be competent in your backup. In 2015, if it was Jeff Driscoll coming off the bench instead of Brock Osweiler, we're not talking about Peyton Manning riding off in the sunset probably. So Ritter in the 3rd round, yes, please. I don't think he will go there. I think he will go somewhere in the 2nd round or maybe even the back end of the 1st round. But you want to bring in young quality quarterbacks, and also they're cheap. That's the other big thing. They're cheap.
And the quarterback play was so bad this year. So bad. that
Yeah.
there's going to be some general managers going to start getting desperate.
Mhm.
I'm hoping the Panthers are one of them. I hope the Panthers use a 6
Yep.
on a quarterback. That'd be great.
Yep.
I hope the Falcons don't. I hope the Broncos don't.
Yep.
But if the Panthers do, that means one of the top players that can make an immediate impact for you at a position while you can try and get a better quarterback down the line. Maybe you're bad enough that you get one of the two guys in 2023 that are legit guys. But the other part of this is you take enough swings, one of these guys is going to be a really, really good player. Just which one is it? Which one's it going to be? And going down to the Senior Bowl, what you'll find out is, and appreciate you, Miguel. Catch you on the flip side when you are able to come back in and say hello again. Appreciate you being here. What we'll see at the Senior Bowl is, do they have the tools? That's what you can find out. Do they have the tools to be an NFL quarterback? Is their release quick enough? Is their footwork good enough? Is their arm strong enough? Is their accuracy good enough? Those are the 4 things you can learn. Then you have to go back and watch games to see if they can play the game. Are they good enough quarterbacks to play? There's a physical, and then there's a mental game manager and all that type of stuff line. Where are they on these? And coaches tend to lean towards the physical tools because they're arrogant. I can teach them the rest of it. I can, and it's not always that easy. Some of these, the it factor is God-given as well, and you can't measure it. So we'll see. And Travis asks, when is the Senior Bowl again? Let me see where he came in with some stars. I want to flash Travis real quick. So when is the Senior Bowl against Scott? Looking forward to your report. Starts tomorrow. So 10 a.m. 10:30 Central. They have two 2-hour practices. So get done, from about 10 to 2:30, somewhere in there. And then it'll take me some time. I'll go through all the video and cut up some highlights on the day's best action. And then we'll see what Nick wants to do. But Tuesday night, maybe I guest appearance, or I'll do another show on my channel on Top Risers and stuff. And we'll see. We'll see what I'm able to do on the web, but I'll be all over YouTube. I promise you that.
Yep, we'll figure it out. You all obviously have a shot on the show. Andrew Lampy coming in here saying, morning all, quick pop in to say hello and wish everyone a wonderful Monday. We'll watch later tonight. Thank you so much, Andrew. And also, nice new snazzy picture there, Andrew. Looks like the little guy is spiffied up. So great picture. Good to see the family doing well.
Yep. And then where's Jermaine comes in. So Drew will start. No trade for Rodgers. You can afford to start Drew Lock as a first-year quarterback coach. The question was, Fangio got some crap for not playing Drew Lock. He didn't believe in Drew Lock. So if he didn't believe in Drew Lock, you can't play him. He couldn't afford a losing year. Couldn't. He was going to be gone. So I've got to get a guy that I think gives me a better chance to win. You don't necessarily have that concern with a first-year guy, unless you go out there and Urban Meyer things up, which is more culture and attitude and off the field stuff. He's going to get a second year. So if you end up rolling Drew Lock, he's got 1 year left on his contract. What if all of the folks that think he's going to be a superstar, he is, and then he leaves you? What happens then? But are you willing to say, okay, because there's a contingent of people out there that's like, I'm not willing to go 12-5 and get Aaron Rodgers because it means in 2 years we're going to be 6-11 again. Are you willing to put up with a 3-13 season? Drew Lock's lost 7 or 8 of his last 9 starts. He's a 1-to-1 TD to interception ratio. There's not a lot in his background that says he's going to just make this quantum leap forward to be a playoff contending quarterback. So are you willing to be patient, ride a season out with Drew Lock, and maybe get a top 5 pick and make a run at CJ Stroud or Bryce Young? Is it for the no Aaron Rodgers folks, is that preferable to you? Because there is not a scenario that guarantees you not being in the same place in 3 years. There isn't one.
Nope. Yeah, especially with this quarterback class. who knows which guy will be the dude. I know that it seems like Kenny Pickett is becoming the consensus quarterback one. I wouldn't want to take him if I wasn't playing in a team that had a dome or a team that played in the South where you're not going to be playing with weather conditions. But who knows? As far as Drew Lock, if you go into next year with Drew Lock as a starting quarterback, that means that you probably went about it, the quarterback situation, the exact same way as last season, where you're bringing in a veteran quarterback to compete with Drew Lock. And this time, Drew Lock wins the battle. I thought there was some things to work with on the last 3-game stretch of the season, as far as protecting the football. Now we're talking, baby steps here, but it's still, I mean, he stopped making some of the big boneheaded turnover plays that we saw from him even earlier this season. So we'll see what happens. Best thing we can say about Drew Lock right now is that he's here and he's cheap. What does that mean for him going forward? I don't know. He's one of the top 50 to 60 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. That means he has value here. But again, comes back to the conversation of improving your quarterback position, going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance, going from Jared Goff to Matt Stafford, going from Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes. Do you see greatness with Drew Lock? I don't. Based on the sample size we've had, I think greatness is probably not very likely to be obtainable. So keep chasing that greatness of that quarterback position, because otherwise you're not going to be one of these teams dancing at the end. Antonio, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, Antonio comes in with a good comment here. He says, I'll say it again. I'm happy with the Surtain pick, but I wanted Slater. We definitely need a tackle now. And I find this interesting because, Antonio, you're one of the few fans, community members that didn't say a different position. So coming out here and saying Slater or right tackle would have been nice. Yeah, it would have been. That would have been a heck of a pick. And then, have him take over for left tackle when you decide what you're going to do with Garrett Bowles based on age and or contract. That would have been a good pick. But said it before, we'll say it again. The last year, if you were picking in the top 10, you're either going to get a really exciting player or the quarterback of your future. And you did. You got a really exciting player. If you keep doing that, you're going to be just fine. I've also said you might be better off financially drafting 5 to 10 in this draft than you are 1 to 5. I don't see a hill of beans worth of difference between a lot of these guys in the top 10, Nick. Maybe Kyle Hamilton, but is Aiden Hutchinson a sure thing? Maybe Evan Neal for me. I kind of like the tackles a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think you're a little bit safer there, but is Evan Neal going to have the same rookie season that even Penny Sewell had? Or Rashawn Slater? So, are you better off almost saving half the money and picking a little farther down and getting not necessarily a top 5 pick, but a 5 to 10 guy who can be a quality starter for a long time for you? We'll see.
I think I might disagree a little bit with you on the front that I think there's probably a clear delineation here, but it's going to happen like in the top 5 this year. So I would rather have that top 5 pick, even if you're paying more, to have a chance at a potential blue chipper at their position, where I think like pick 8 through 22, there's not much of a difference this year. I think all those guys are pretty much heaped together in clusters. So
I just feel like there's just as many questions around Kayvon Thibodeau as there are George Karlaftis. I feel like there's just as many questions around Aiden Hutchinson as Derek Stingley. It's just there's not that. And for me, at the beginning of the year, Kayvon Thibodeau was clearly the number 1. So why did that fall off? That's what I want to dig into. Why did he fall back some? And is it stuff that matters, or is it just just talk to see if we can maybe knock this guy down to 3 because, we want him.
Yeah. And I want to get back to Antonio's comment here after we get to Ethan.
Yet.
After we get to Ethan, yeah. Ethan coming in first. I missed Broncos for dinner the other night. How dare you, Ethan? We missed you. Nice show. Why not do all 3? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oh, man. And Tifarf. I don't know what Tifarf.
It was trade for Aaron Rodgers fund.
Okay, I'm in. Tifarf. There we go. I have other obligations. I know Scott does as well. He has more than I do. But breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm just enjoying right now getting the fact that we get to hang out with you guys on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday mornings. We'll see if we'll see if the show's cut down as far as when we get to the true dead part of the off season, when there is less information and we might have other responsibilities. I know Scott's very big in the baseball scene as well there in his area, but we appreciate you, Ethan. Back to Antonio's comments about getting Slater there at 9. Obviously, you want to have a good offensive line, but I think, and you don't want to prove it, as you say, you can prove anything with a sample size of 1. But I think we maybe need to have the conversation about quarterback greatness being tied to the offensive line play, because the Bengals might be going to the Super Bowl with the worst offensive line that's played there in the last, I guess since the Broncos offensive line in 2015, because that unit was terrible as well. Let's be real. But they're going there. I don't think that some people would like to make it out where your quarterback's success in the league is completely dependent. Their development is completely dependent on the offensive line being great and protecting them. I think that's a hill of beans. I think that quarterback's greatness is inherent. Obviously, there are some sliding scales as far as how great they can be if the offensive line isn't killing it. But I think that it's more about protecting the quarterback long term and longevity with that offensive line protection versus a quarterback being great or not without that offensive line. Last year, we had Justin Herbert break the all-time rookie passing record with the single worst Pro Football Focus pass blocking grade and the single worst pass blocking win rate of any offensive line in football. Didn't look like Justin Herbert's broken because of terrible offensive line play. Joe Burrow, coming off of a torn ACL, the Bengals use a first top 5 pick on a wide receiver instead of a tackle. People are killing them for that. Bengals are in the bleeping Super Bowl this year. So I think that obviously you'd rather have a great offensive line than a bad offensive line. No dip. But some people like to make this excuse where like, oh, you didn't have a good enough offensive line, so it's never the quarterback's fault or the offensive schemer's fault that you didn't achieve greatness. Get out of here with that. It's on that individual player.
So Nick,
more so than anything.
You just said that LA Chargers had the worst pass blocking grade in ever, or in the league last year. So what they do?
They went out and drafted a tackle, which I agree that you want to do. No, I agree with you as far as wanting to build up a better unit that's weak and help your quarterback and help them long term. The longevity factor, keeping them healthy. But as far as having to have a top 5 offensive line in place for that quarterback to even have a chance to succeed, get out of here. I don't buy it for 1 second. I think that
there is more than one way to skin a cat.
Yes,
for sure. Like I said, you get the front 4, a dangerous front 4 covers up a lot of screw ups on either side of the ball. It's like, okay, we're watching the playoffs, turnover. Well, the front 4 comes in and gets a sack. It's like, wow, man, that'd be nice. What did I read? I was listening to actually listened to most of the game yesterday, and I was listening to the Cincinnati Bengals, which is actually kind of hilarious, by the way. Their color guy is a fan in the background, so it'd be Nick over there saying, Joe Burrow drops back to pass. He's facing a little pressure, and in the background, you hear the color guy going, "Yes, yes, great play, yes," and it's a touchdown to Jamar Chase. And then he comes in and plays. But they said, I think it was on 20 turnovers, on 20 giveaways, they only gave up 4 touchdowns. So it's complementary. We talk about this all the time about what's the word that they're using for? It's not complimentary, is it? But it's being good. Being a good football team is being good in multiple phases, not just this or not just we got to have this quarterback or we got to have this tackle. There's multiple ways to do it. Just keep loading your team up with good players, and it'll work itself out for sure. Speaking of good players, Mark comes in with more stars and asks a question. I love this question personally, but Nick, I'm going to let you take it first.
Yeah. Would you guys take Kyle Hamilton if he's there at 9 or possibly trade down? It depends on what the package is at 9 overall. If somebody's offering you, a future first round pick and extra capital in like 2023, you probably take the trade down because your ship doesn't leave or your train doesn't leave the station until you have a quarterback. So anything where you can add resources to give yourself a leg in or a leg up and a buy-in on the quarterback market, I think that's the way to go. That being said, they would have to blow me away to take Hamilton off the field. I think he's truly a blue chipper in this class. One of the few players in this class that changes the numbers too, as far as your run fit. He is so big and good at coming downhill in the run game that you don't have to play with a loaded box. You can play light box and not get killed in the run game. He's also big in the RPO game, coming down and closing on space in the quick pass game, which you need with the Chiefs and Chargers with how much they're manufacturing touches in space for these guys, kind of like basketball, like an isolation game. We're seeing a lot of basketball crossover in the NFL as far as the ISO game, especially with the Bengals and what they're doing offensively. That's a topic for another day. But Hamilton at 9 with pairing him with Simmons, with the math that you can have on the back end though, after that, and keeping a cap on the defense, some versatility there. Who can be robber? Is Justin Simmons coming down? Is he playing the box? I mean, it'd be beautiful. So Hamilton at 9 would be great. If somebody's willing to give up a lot of picks, though, come up and get the guy. Come up, trade trade away because you need to give yourself ammo to get the quarterback.
Yeah, everybody's got a price, but you're going to have to. One, Hamilton's not going to 9. I think it would be. Wouldn't that be pretty amazing if he went number 1 overall
in this class? I mean,
it won't happen.
No,
but he's of all these guys that are talking about being in the top 10. He's the surest thing. He's the surest thing. A game changer on defense. If you could go back, would you take Sean Taylor? Would he be a number 1 pick in his class? Got Ronnie Lott. Guys like that. That's what you're thinking of is when you're going after this guy's Hall of Fame type of safety here. Is what you're looking for. So when I trade down, everything's got a price. You want to come throw a couple number 1s and a starter at me. Yeah, I'm coming down. I don't care who's there. I need the players. If you think you're 1 player away, then maybe not. But everybody's got a price. But I think Hamilton should not go below 4. He should not go below. Was it the Jets at number 4? If you go Hutchinson. Defensive end, and Thibodeau, who we mentioned, Neal at tackle, maybe one of the other tackles, maybe. So 5 at the worst for Hamilton. If the Falcons pass on him at 8 and he gets to 9, I'm going to shillelagh the Falcons for doing that. So I've been, and I can carry a grudge. I still complain about 5 picks for Julio Jones 10 years ago. So daily. So that'll be gentle compared to what I do if they pass on Kyle Hamilton. And Falling Saw talking about the fan doing color commentary is former O-line star Dave Lapham from the 81 Super Bowl. He gets excited. Yeah, no, I'm not saying he was just a nobody. It's just it's almost like when you're listening to that game, it's almost like you're talking with somebody else who's 10 seconds ahead. And you're watching the game and they start cheering. You're like, well, I guess something good's about to happen. That's kind of how it felt because he'd be cheering before, the play-by-play would get a chance to tell you what happened. And it was just it was just kind of funny to listen to. Give him a chance. If you've got the NFL Game Pass or anything like that, give the the Bengals guys a listen. They're kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun team. I'm happy for them. Happy for the city of Cincinnati. Should be a great Super Bowl. Any other takeaways before we start to wrap it up out of here? Obviously, talked about chasing greatness at the quarterback position, allocating bodies to the secondary. Obviously, gosh, negative 14.4 EPA per pass, career low for Patrick Mahomes in this game. So hats off to the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, the Chiefs will have a whole offseason now, so you don't want to replicate probably what the Bengals did 1-for-1 next season, thinking it'll work because the Chiefs will have some answers. But incredible game from the Bengals to do that. And again, it comes back to, if I had my way, I would run the 3-3-5 stack in the NFL just to see what you can do space-wise. Have some versatile guys who can come down and rush. I really like what the Patriots have done this year at the 5-0-5 front. Having some speed and coverage on that second end, clogging bodies in the middle of the field and crunching the pocket. I don't think that the pure on pass rush 7-man single gap is as good, especially for these quarterbacks who are squirmy little bleeps out of the pocket. So,
you know what will be fun, Nick, is if somebody can get the personnel to replicate the 46 defense of Buddy Ryan and the 85 Bears, which was basically just overwhelm the offensive line. Their front 7 was so good. I mean, there's a couple of Hall of Famers in that front 7. Not everybody can do that, but you're going to see that happen. It's safer to drop 8 into coverage and rush 3, but someone's going to put the personnel package together enough where they can just say, you're going to block 5. All right, we're going to rush 7 and we're going to kill your quarterback. That's what the Bears did in 85. And they were, for my money, maybe the best team I ever saw. Just dominant across the board. But Trevor asked us, who are you most looking forward to seeing at the Senior Bowl? I'm looking forward to seeing the QBs. I'm interested in looking at the quarterbacks for sure. From a content standpoint, those will get the most hits. I've always said, hell, I'll cover Georgia Southern tiddlywinks if people, want to read it, and I get lots of action for it. But I think your value coming down into here normally is in the trenches, is on the interior lines. A lot of the top offensive tackles and the top premium positions, those guys are juniors and they come out early. But the less premium value, where it's like, why should I come out early? I'm going to be a 5th round, 6th round pick, is center guard. And then some of the smaller schools at tackles, and then some of the smaller schools across the defensive line. That's where I really look forward to. Linebackers and running backs are pretty much a waste of time in when you're not tackling. You can see a little bit of agility. You can see a little bit of pass blocking. You can see if they can catch the ball or not, but you really have no idea if they can run the football or make tackles at all. So I look forward to this is watching the trenches.
Yeah, the trenches for sure. I'm really curious to see what you see about, you think about some of these right tackle options. Obviously, you're going to be looking there for the Falcons, but the Broncos as well. Some names to watch out there for Daniel Falele from Minnesota, 6'9", 380 pounds. They found him in an Australian Football League camp and brought him over to the States. And he's still pretty new to the game, but he's actually a solid athlete. He plays a little high. We don't have to go down to all the specifics, but he's one to watch. Luke Gadecki from Central Michigan, his partner across the line in Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan, who's actually from Austria, not Australia, a guy who played tight end and made that conversion just 2 years ago to tackle. A lot of good movement skills. Reminds me a little bit of Garrett Bowles as far as the smaller frame, but great athlete. Trevor Penning is one that should be fun to watch out there as well. Max Mitchell from Louisiana, and going up against some of these defensive linemen as well. I'm excited to see Cam Thomas, Myjai Sanders out there as well.
If the Northern Iowa kid is a better prospect than Spencer Brown, I can't wait to see him, because Spencer Brown should have been a 1st-round pick.
I don't know if he's the same pure athlete that Spencer Brown is, but he has much heavier hands. As far as like when you can actually see the jolt of power. Like Spencer Brown was so long and lanky that like you could see him move, but he didn't have a lot of like force upon his contact. When you don't agree with me on that one?
I watched him move all kinds of guys around, and and the thing is he was so good at getting to the second level that the guys that he was hitting were 60 pounds lighter than him, and he's got a 500-pound bench press. I mean, Spencer Brown was something else. Again, that he fell to the 3rd, just it pains me.
I guess I'm talking more of pass protection. Because he was so tall, you didn't see the jolt as far as when he makes contact and then anchoring. So that offensive line is so nuanced because there's different kinds of power. So I'm talking about more of the stationary power where he can take on force into his chest. Couldn't always anchor from watching you and I in the Senior Bowl reps last year. But getting to the second level where he could use that athleticism and momentum going forward, yeah, that was nice. But I think Penning is a little bit nastier, a little bit more of a cleaner fit as far as an offensive lineman day one.
So Sowell comes in. Thanks for the comment, Sowell. So what's the best value the Broncos can get for pick at 9? So for me, that means who falls. Who's the best player that can fall? We mentioned Kyle Hamilton at safety. I think he's literally. I wouldn't, if he went number 1 overall, I would applaud the pick. Evan Neal's not going to fall. Let's see, who's somebody else. If Derek Stingley, if he ends up falling to 9 and you end up getting a second corner and he ends up being the guy we thought he could be. Now, why was he the number 1 pick overall 2 years ago to possibly falling out of the top 10 when he's eligible? That's a concern. But what about Ekwonu? Does Ekwonu, is there any chance he falls to 9? Ike Ekwonu, the offensive tackle from NC State, would be hella value for sure. But for me, the number 1 answer still is Kyle Hamilton. Best player, non-premium position. I don't care if he's as good as we think he can be. Take him. You don't, and that's why I don't think he falls. I really don't.
Yeah, I think the key word here is value. And while Kyle Hamilton is great, he is a safety, and you can find safeties in free agency every year for decent contracts. So
but I also think of it as who's the best prospect period that you can get there, because for me, any quarterback that you take at 9 is a reach.
I agree.
Value there. It's a reach. So I'm thinking of it more on the lines of, let's line up my EA Sports Madden numbers and who's going to have the highest grade that could be available in that spot.
I 100% agree with you. But I was leaning into the value because safety right now is a position where I think they're undervalued compared to what they bring to the field versus where they go in the draft and then the cost. Part of that is because how often is a safety, especially deep safeties, impacting the down to down? The closer you are to the football, the more likely you are to impact the play. Safeties aren't always that way. I would rather have that than the linebacker, but I digress. The one position here where, as far as value that sticks out to me that could pique your interest. Obviously, quarterback, if you hit the quarterback, that's number one. I'm going to lean away from quarterback, though. One of the most valuable things in football, dollar-wise, value-wise, is a true island man cornerback. And if Derek Stingley's there at 9 and his foot doesn't concern you at all, the value of bringing down Derek Stingley to pair with Patrick Surtain and have legitimately 2 cornerbacks who you're comfortable with playing man on any given play, playing ISO ball one side of the field, could be incredible. So as far as the value, I don't think you're going to get Hutchinson or Thibodeau down there. I don't think you're going to get Evan Neal down there as far as edge and offensive tackle. Ike Ekwonu, I think he's going to not reach it to 9 either. Maybe Derek Stingley falls there. And as far as the value of a true island man cornerback, which is a rare skill, that's the one that sticks out to me as maybe being the best value.
And there should be one. There's 3 really good ones in this class right now. Stingley, Andrew Booth at Clemson, and Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati. One of those 3, if not 2 of those 3, should be available at 9. Yep. So that would be a good shout from Nick right there.
Yep. And with Stingley, the big thing will be the foot. If the foot and the tape. His best tape was his freshman year when LSU was actually playing meaningful football. Since then, they've kind of fallen off, and Stingley has been up and down. You see the flashes, but he's had some injuries. But as far as the movement skills and the actual skill set itself, what Stingley can do is rare and valuable. There'll be 10,000 memes if the Broncos take another cornerback at 9 overall. But if you can have 2 guys who you're comfortable with lining up in press man coverage, what you can do defensively around those guys with those guys eating up so much space, I mean, it just compresses the field. You could be fine with Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell playing some coverage. Now, obviously, you can isolate those guys against good tight ends and still manufacture touches and yards. But, like, man, what you could do to limit the perimeters with 2 shutdown press man corners in Surtain and Stingley's ability would be incredible. So that's one that comes to me.
It's going to be real interesting at number 8 for the Falcons because they've got holes all over the field, and they will be looking for that best value player at number 8. Yep. So whoever scouts better makes the better pick, but a lot of the needs and a lot of the value, a lot of the draft should be the same for the Falcons and Broncos. So we'll be talking about that a lot. But as bad as the Falcons are in the trenches, I got no problem with them going to a corner and pairing him up with AJ Terrell the same way we talk about pairing him up with Pat Surtain. So again, there should be at least one of those 3 available if the Falcons do something like take Derek Stingley. I think they'd go with the highest upside guy, SEC kid, LSU. That wouldn't surprise me at all, despite the fact that they had 18 sacks over the year.
Yeah, and before we get on out of here, because we're already at over an hour, another thing that makes the Stingley pick interesting is linking it with the right now odds-on favorite for the Broncos defensive coordinator in Elijah Evero, I think is the name. I saw somebody in the chat mention it there. Evero. And what the Rams did this year with Jalen Ramsey was quite interesting. Jalen Ramsey became their de facto star corner. That's not like star as in like an elite player, but star as in the positioning where he was the slot. He played the big hybrid safety, cornerback, safety, big guy over the slot position a lot for that Rams defense. And we know that last season during the offseason, before injuries hit the Broncos and Kyle Fuller ended up being not very good, that a big plan for the Broncos was to play Patrick Surtain in the slot role, being kind of a big body matchup eraser over the the hashes, that part of the field for those vertical looks, the cover two kind of split beaters. So maybe you see if you bring in somebody like Stingley pairing with Darby, then maybe you can see that versatility with Surtain again, with Evero, who like to play their best back 7 player in the slot this last season. So interesting matchup numbers.
Stingley could play that position.
He could. His tackling is not as consistent as Surtain, and physicality I thought was not as consistent as Surtain. And if you're playing the slot, you're going to have to come down and bang heads a little bit with the tight ends and move line.
Again, it gives you options. You know who likes options? Coaches like having options.
Yes, absolutely. Travis coming back in saying, great show, fellas. I appreciate what you guys do. No doubt. We appreciate you, Travis, supporting us. Thank you so much. It's over an hour here, so we're going to get back into it. We're going to talk some more stuff tomorrow, maybe even some more takeaways. I feel like there's even more from these games that we'll get into here. And then Senior Bowl. We really need to start getting into some of these guys' specifics.
I will be in Mobile for this show tomorrow, so hopefully the internet is good enough to pull this off.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason asking, Can you get Malik Willis to give us a Broncos for breakfast shout out?
I stay away from the guys. I really do. That's why the testing, you had to have proof of double jab and boost and a negative test within 48 hours to be there. And I'm in the stands, man. You won't even know I'm there. I like to watch and not interact. I'm there to scout. So probably not, but I will more than likely have on my Broncos for breakfast beanie. So I will be representing.
There we go. We need to find out what kind of coffees these guys like. That's the big one here for the Broncos for breakfast. Get a shout out on that one. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We'll be back again live tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Mountain Time. You guys can follow Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendall MHH. We also got Husky Hardcore coming in here saying, missed most of the show. Listen to KC's Sports Talk Show this morning. It was pretty funny. Yeah, I mean,
Schadenfreude is real.
Yep, it is real. And it was a decade ago, but I remember listening and consuming and just being inconsolable after the Broncos lost to the Ravens in 2012. So the Chiefs have had it good for a while. 4 AFC championships in a row is insane. But they're hurting today, and I feel for them, but I also laugh at them. It's like, oh, I've been there. Sucks to suck.
Yeah, it's just, again, as an Atlanta sports fan, you laugh at yourself, and then you can laugh. It's like, listen, join us. 21-3, that's nothing. Try 28-3 with 15 minutes to go.
Yeah,
you got nothing on us.
Funny in this game, also the Bengals, when they went down 21-3, they became the third lowest win probability to win a game this season. So this game should have been over. Shout out to the Bengals. Shout out to Burrow. Never say die. It's a big reason. It's a 4-quarter game. People freaking out last year of the Broncos, go 3 and out on their first 2 drives, and it's still, it's just 3-0. 4-quarter game. You want to play the whole thing out. And when you got a guy like Burrow back there, you have some belief. But Burrow, he's going to get all the praise because he's a quarterback. But shout out to the Bengals defense, man. What they did in the second half versus Kansas City in a game where it would have been very easy for them just to put their hands on their hips and be like, what the bleep do we even do? Came in out, totally different scheme, dropping 8 guys into coverage and getting pressure after Mahomes, keeping him contained with 3, getting coverage sacks, making him not trust his eyes, and saying, Andy Reid, we think you're going to take the cheese because we don't think you're going to be patient enough to run the football because you just have too much fun with the passing in the game. Because if you have Mahomes and Hill and Kelsey, no doubt. But the numbers didn't dictate that. They were running the ball for like 6 yards a clip. They didn't keep at it. They lost the game.
Panic.
God bless them. Panic. Yep. Ah, man. So great to see the Chiefs lose. Nobody deserves a worse. Shout out to Ethan. I still see your $50 coming up here. Shout out to everybody who joined us today. Thank you so much.
Mark Schrader was big today.
Mark Schrader too, yes.
So appreciate all of y'all for sure.
Yep. Absolutely. We appreciate you guys so much. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you're on Facebook, join our communities there, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and /Mile High Huddle Pod. If you're listening after the fact, I haven't checked it in about a week, but it had been about a week since we got our last iTunes review. So make sure that you're going, I know, right? Especially with Scott going down to Mobile here. We need to get our reviews, our star count up. So challenging you guys, hopefully by this time tomorrow, we'll have a new review on iTunes. Find us Mile High Huddle and leave us a 5-star review and a comment. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share it to our channel, Mile High Huddle. Hit that bell notifications. That way you know when we go live, although we're pretty consistent with when we go live. So hopefully you won't need that, but again, might as well. And also check out Scott's channel at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy, where, gosh, there's going to be a lot of draft content there. Obviously, if Falcons focused over there.
Yeah, but not Senior Bowl. I think last year, Nick, I put up 55 videos, highlight videos from Senior Bowl on 55 different individuals, not even counting like OL versus DL, but just Spencer Brown or Baron Browning. I put up one of him blowing up a Michigan fullback on there last year. So, and Lawrence coming in real quick. Said, I think the Rams got it figured out while the Bengals are still figuring it out at times. Yeah, but how similar does it feel like the 49ers and Bengals are, except the Bengals have a better quarterback? And the Rams really struggled against the 49ers defense. So we'll see. We'll get into that for sure.
Yep, absolutely. We'll get into it. Thank you guys so much. You're amazing. Scott, before we get out of here, quick question. Prediction on the Super Bowl. Well, I'm not going to hold you to it. It's still very early, but this is just the instant gut reaction on the Super Bowl.
I told Falling Sloth that I'd go with the Rams. So I'm going to go good weather. Matthew Stafford is, anybody that doubted Matthew Stafford never watched Matthew Stafford. I've been watching this kid. I've got video from him against Jevon Sneed in 2005 maybe, in a Texas high school playoff game in front of 50,000 people, 30,000 people, ton of people. He's got one of the best arms I've ever seen. He's absolutely a gunslinger. 2 weeks off to get all his weapons healthy, hopefully. I feel better about the Bengals' chances against the Rams than any game that they've won, either of the last two that they've won. So, I'll stick with the Rams just because I promised Falling Sloth I would. I've been disrespecting the Bengals this whole time. I'll stick to it.
Yeah, I'll probably take the Rams as well. I like how their defensive line matches up with the Bengals' offensive line. Really curious to see what the chess match is as far as Jalen Ramsey being the kingpin cover guy that they have in that back seven and what they do with the legitimate three weapons that the Bengals have. Personally, I just say play island ball and go take away Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins is so freaking good. Also, big old laugh. Would the Chiefs be in the Super Bowl right now if they would have taken T. Higgins instead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Probably. Why are you taking a bleeping running back?
Joe Mixon. The Bengals aren't afraid to grind it out. Like I said, they look to me a lot like the 49ers. That's why I wasn't really looking forward to that game, because it's these teams are too similar and they both want to kind of keep the score down. The Bengals will take more chances for sure and have more weapons, but the defenses I think would nullify both teams. It'd be a 12-10 game.
Yeah.
But to me, the Bengals are 49ers plus. The 49ers defense plus the better quarterback. The 49ers have weapons. Deebo Samuel, was it Kittle? George Kittle over there. They've got
Kittle?
They've got weapons for sure, but I think the Bengals are better on offense and are a match for them on defense. That it should be a really good game. And the Rams, the glitzy, the old soft LA teams, they're gonna get punched in the mouth. It should be a lot of fun.
Chase greatness at quarterback. Chase stars. That's what the Rams taught us. And good things can happen. And when you're in your window, go for it. Rams are here. So appreciate you guys so much. We're going to go for it by ending the show. Love you guys. We'll see. I guess Scott will be around tonight, but just working the back scene with the Huddle Up show going on. So make sure you check us out tonight. Hang out with Chad and Zach. We will see you guys. Scott and I will see you tomorrow morning. Scott will be in. Will you already be in Mobile or will you be in transit?
Yeah, I'm heading for Mobile in about an hour.
Wow. Okay. So Scott's got to get going. I got to get going. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Everyone stay safe, choose kindness, and go Broncos.